explicit violence in your writings?
It's what I do, is one answer. I write horror fiction. There is a kind of curiosity that we have as human beings about our life processes. One of our last life processes is death. It's a legitimate subject for curiosity. We shouldn't be ashamed that the macabre or the morbid exercises some fascination upon us. I tell it like it is. If it's there in my mind's eye, I put it on the page. And that seems to me to be a legitimate way to write.
Penis.
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 That's the word of the day, everybody.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us here on Written in Red. That is the Horror Reader and Writers podcast. Today, we have an incredible show for you. We're just continuing to pull these incredible authors out of our sleeves. What great fortune we've had to be able to have them give us the time of day. Ron Kelly, Ryan Harding. I mean, we've had so many awesome people on in prior episodes. Yeah. And now Kristopher Triana, we've got today for an absolutely awesome, insightful, and fucking hilarious interview. So I'm excited. But before we get started, let's go ahead and just introduce ourselves to any new listeners so that you guys are aware of who we are. My name's Aaron Beauregard. I am a 3-time Splatterpunk Award nominated horror author of such works as The Slob, Modern Hysteria, and my newest book, The Cuck. Daniel?
Daniel J. Volpe, 2-time Splatterpunk Award nominated author for Talia and Left to You, and my newest book is out now, Visceral 2, co-written with Patrick C. Harrison III from Death's Head Press. This collection is 8 stories, 4 from each of us, and they are fucking vile and violent and gross and all things you guys, all of our listeners love. You're going to want to check that out now. Available in ebook and paperback.
Awesome. And Roland Bursey Jr., author of Unbortion, winner of the 2020 American Fiction Awards. Also author of Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder, Payback as a Witch. I have a new short story coming out in a collection. It should be out in a couple of months, maybe a little sooner than that. I'm not going to say the name of it yet, and I'm not going to announce who the collection is with because they haven't announced it. And then I'm starting work on my latest story, which is disturbing and disgusting and should be out hopefully before the end of the summertime.
Awesome.
Oh, and can't forget Carver Pike. He's not here. He's not joining us tonight. Carver Pike is the author of Faces of Beth. That's his latest, and people are calling it his best work, with an introduction from Brian Keene. Carver is also author of the Diablo Snuff series. The Maddening is the last of that series, but the whole series is amazing, so check out Carver Pike.
Absolutely. Check them out. And we certainly appreciate everyone and your support with this show. We've been able to cultivate a really solid, I think it's like a niche following though, but it's a good amount. I think, we're right around that 500, 600, 700 range now for people that are like tuning in pretty regularly. And that's
crazy. That we had 7,000 downloads. Remember that?
That's just
wild.
That's just the audio. That doesn't count the all the listens on YouTube either. So
wow. So for all the listeners and the people who watch us, just thank you guys so much for tuning in. Y'all don't know how much it means to us. And I just want to personally say thank you to each and every last one of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Without you guys, this show wouldn't exist. If we didn't get the feedback that we do, we wouldn't even probably bother. It's fun to do it, but to know that it helps people and that people are enjoying the show means everything to us. So feel free, like we've said before, if you guys have questions for us, for any upcoming guests, written in red podcast@gmail.com, or probably one of the better ways is to join the Written in Red discussion group on Facebook. We're all part of that group. It's well run, and we're always active on there. So we always post up where the guests are going to be and give you guys an opportunity to ask these amazing authors pretty much any question. And when we say any question, We mean any question, from questions about the human centipede to their writing style. Anything you can think of, these authors are ready for it. So feel free, join that group. It's free. It's free to join. It's Facebook. So check it out.
Yeah, and really, you know, that first sort of year that we did this, you know, you guys really supported us before we had any major guests or anything on, just with the four of us. And that's how, you know, we were able to grow and get, you know, make people feel comfortable about coming on, and like that it was going to be worth their while. So, you know, it's all you guys that did that, and it's just great. Look what it's grown. Who knows what it will develop into.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to thank you guys too. You know, this has been a great journey. I mean, I'm going to do the show as long as I can, God willing, and hopefully you guys can too. You know,
I am on for the long haul.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I look forward to it.
Long haul.
Yeah.
Well, it's just good.
That was Roland's nickname in high school. There, the long haul.
But it is just good too. Like, I feel like it gets our wheels turning too a little bit. You know what I mean? And
oh yeah.
You know, it's like it's good to have a group conversation about writing, because it helps with what we're all doing on an individual level. You know, and so it's really cool. But yeah, just a reminder. So before we get into the interview right now, head over to the YouTube. If you can subscribe, that would be great. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, subscribing there really helps too. And also reviewing and rating really helps, or commenting on episodes, that always helps out too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Anything else, guys, before we get into it?
No, this is a great interview with Kristopher Triana we have coming up. It's a longer one, which we've probably been about average in this 2 hours and change. But Chris has got a lot of good information for this episode. Talks about some upcoming stuff, talks about some of his older stuff, and really breaks down some of his books. And I think you guys are going to genuinely enjoy this one. And he does shout penis a few times randomly. So get ready for that. We're going to be
penis.
Penis. If anybody has a counter and they want to just let us know. Yeah. Let us know in the YouTube comments how many times penis is yelled.
Penis?
Yeah. Count them cocks, you know? Don't just sit there. Actively listen, folks, all right?
Yeah, please. This isn't background noise.
Yeah.
This should be on your fucking television. Like Karina watches this on her television. She takes her time and watches us. So watch this, count how many times we yell penis into the microphones, and let us know.
All right, and so without further ado, I give you Kristopher Triana!
Penis!
I did it too.
Who said penis?
Penis?
Was that Kristopher? Kristopher Penis Triana, our guest today.
Yeah, great minds think alike, apparently, or hindered minds. They gravitate toward each other. But thank you for joining us on Written and Read, the horror reader and writers podcast. We're very excited for this interview segment, as we are joined by a multi-time Splatterpunk Award-nominated horror author and also a winner for his novel Full Brutal. He's also the author of Gone to See the Riverman, and The Devil Cried, and They All Died Screaming. So many great books that we're very excited to talk about today. Kristopher Triana!
Yo!
Yay!
Yay!
Oh, thank you.
I try to show some enthusiasm.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate that.
No, definitely. You've been doing it for quite some time, and we're very fortunate to have a seasoned veteran here that can talk about the hard, shitty road to the amazing ascension. And congratulations, let's say first too, because Gone to See the Riverman went over 1,000 reviews on Amazon. It's actually it looks like 1113 right now. So congratulations on that.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who read and reviewed the book. It means a lot for those of you listening out there. For us writers, those reviews on Amazon and Goodreads, they really help a lot. So even if you just write, "Hey, I liked it," just that's all you need to do, and it's an enormous help.
Yeah.
It really is. It helps with the visibility, and it helps give the book legs and sort of reach other audiences and things like that. And
I didn't know, Aaron. You said only like 5% of people. I didn't like leave reviews.
It's a really low number. It's like right around 5%. Is that? I mean, is that what you understand it to be too, Chris? Like around there or something?
That's what I've heard. I don't have any way to clarify that, but I have heard that before. And it makes sense to me. I mean, I don't tend to write reviews if I buy something on Amazon. Not as, I mean, like books and stuff. I might, because it's like, like a brotherhood of the writers, and sisterhood as well. But no, with that I would. But like, you go on Amazon and you buy something, and like you see people review it. Like I bought a pair of headphones today, and there was like 4,000 reviews for the headphones. I'm like, who does that? Who has the time to do that? So it makes sense to me that there are that a lot of people don't write reviews for things. I get it, but when it comes to someone who's when you're talking about independent artists and authors and musicians that are really trying to come up, it helps tremendously. For the indie scene, for people to leave reviews of their short films or films or books or whatever it is. Stephen King doesn't need your reviews, but we do. Yeah.
Send him this way, Steve. All right.
Yeah.
Stop hogging all the reviews, Steve.
Yes, Steve.
But yeah, usually.
And you too, Dean.
Oh, old Dino. All right.
Yes.
No, but usually we like to start out by getting a better idea of like how you kind of got into writing, and because I mean your stuff goes way back. Like you're in some of those old DOA anthologies, and I know you've told me you've done quite a bit of anthology and submissions work, and you were kind of at like the where things were beginning to evolve into more digital and a little bit easier to get stuff around, but you kind of were in that early phase too, right? Where it was a little tougher. So maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I've been writing since I was a kid. I've always been a writer. I still have like little notebooks, composition books and stuff of short stories I wrote back when I was 10. So it's basically just filled, and this is true. It's like short stories and stuff, and then drawings of the movie Cobra. Once I saw Cobra, I was so like hypnotized by that movie. So I have a bunch of shitty drawings of Sylvester Stallone that I did too. But anyway, no, I wrote in my youth, in my teenage years. I started writing novels. They weren't very good at all. I was writing longhand, and then I got a typewriter. It was a long time before I got a computer because I just didn't have the money. My family didn't have the money. But yeah, I started submitting stories and everything like in the late 90s, early 2000s. And this is back when you had to actually mail them to the publishers, and you had to buy those writers' markets books that had the listings of everyone that was open to submissions. And it was not as fluid or as easy as it is now. Same thing with the self-publishing, which was... There were vanity presses back then that would do it for you, but they would charge you, and it was really just a scam. Unlike now, where people can actually self-publish, and we have the means to do that. I haven't done it yet myself, but it's great that there's all these young authors out there that can really start getting their work out immediately, rather than banging their head against the wall and fighting the competition for years and years and years, as old men like me did.
Has it always been horror for you, like since you were writing since a kid?
Yes, it has. Even as a kid, I was obsessed with monsters and scary things, loved Halloween. And yeah, even those old stories from when I was 10 years old are about monsters in swamps and, decapitations even, like some of it's like I read it and I'm like, man, it's not super gory or anything. It was still a kid, but it's like, and then he got his head chopped off. Dun, dun, dun. It's a kid thing, but
yeah.
Like it's horror still. There's still monsters and murders. So,
Awesome.
Yep. And then I started writing extreme stuff probably in high school. I was really into the extreme horror and death metal. It was like early 90s, and I was in Florida, so that was like the hub of the rise of American death metal. And so bands like Death and Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel and Deicide, all Florida bands, Obituary. And so I saw a lot of these guys in dive bars, got really into that music and really like the lyrical content of those bands is extreme horror. So that had a big influence on me too.
Did you actually learn about extreme horror through any other authors, or did you just like from sort of taking things in around you, like that band influence, did you sort of get that writing style without really reading it in advance?
Well, when it comes to actually finding extreme horror books, it was, this is pre social media, so it's like you just kind of like did it word of mouth and just tried to find stuff. You couldn't even buy books online, you had to get stuff at the stores. And so like I think Clive Barker was the first example of like extreme horror that I got my hands on as a teenager when I got the Books of Blood and Hellbound Heart and several of his other books, but those are the ones that are really the more extreme. And then of course getting American Psycho, I read that. And a couple other things that I'll talk about later that I consider extreme horror. But yeah, and then I think I was probably in my mid-20s when I discovered Jack Ketchum, Edward Lee, Brian Keene, because all those guys were really starting to put stuff out at that time. And then it was just like, whoa, holy shit, I didn't know you could even get away with writing books like this. I thought it was just too taboo, So that was really a wonderful thing to see, like that splatterpunk stuff and that extreme stuff come out, and with the rise of leisure books and everything. And so I kind of went from there.
And what was like your first publishing experience? Like, did you have a lot of learning curves with, because I imagined you were doing some maybe anthologies before. Maybe just talk about that feeling, like when you first realized you were getting published, because that's like a way different feeling than now, I think, where there's so many presses, and like someone who hasn't been writing for a very long time, I feel like it's not that insane of a challenge to maybe get accepted, because but back then that was like kind of a crazy thing, I think,
No, it was. I mean, it was more niche, and like you were saying, there's many, many, many independent presses now where there weren't back in, say, the early 2000s or whatever. So it was an incredible thing to finally get something accepted. I had a few things that were shortlisted here and there, and then I had several times I had people tell me, you're a great writer. We like the way you write. We think you're very talented, but your stuff is way too brutal and violent and sick for us. I've got actual like physical rejection letters that I kept because I was so amused by some of the stuff that they said about how brutal I was. When I finally full brutal, baby. When I finally got published, the first thing I got published was a short story, and it was in an online magazine that no longer exists. And I think I got paid about $20. It was nothing, but it was a huge thrill to me to finally get published. And then in some presses that are long defunct, I got some short stories actually published in print books, and that was a huge thrill for me. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like when you finally break in, especially like you said back then when it was a lot more difficult. Like I haven't really been submitting. I kind of started in like 2012, and then I went on like a very long hiatus. But like you, Chris, I've been writing for my entire life, so I can imagine that feeling, especially younger and getting that first acceptance. It is funny when you talk about the other authors that kind of spurred you along. I was the same way. I didn't know that people wrote the extreme stuff until I read The Pig, and I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, this is like you can do this. Like I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, I'm trying to write, not Stephen King stuff, but more the mainstream-ish kind of horror. And then I read that, and I was like, holy hell! I'm like, that's not set in Derry. Like that is that's something.
No, that's one of Edward Lee's more disgusting books.
Yeah, and actually it's being re-released. I think now.
Yes, through Evil Cookie. Yeah,
Yes.
They It's yeah, they're releasing the Pig, the House, and I think what's it called? The
Ouija
new one.
Pig.
Ouija Pig. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah. So that's really exciting.
Actually, while we brought up Evil Cookie, if you wouldn't mind, let's talk about real quick your book Night Stalkers, if you don't mind. That's being re-released as well in a hardcover. I know K-Trap Jones, awesome guy to work with. I've done 2 anthologies for them, and he's been nothing but a pleasure to work with. And Chris and one of our prior guests, Ryan Harding, have a book called Night Stalkers, which I have it on my Kindle. I haven't read it yet, but it looks batshit crazy.
It is.
So if you could just talk to us a little bit about that and how it was to work with Evil Cookie.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's the Night Stalkers, and the O in Stalkers is a pentagram. So it's kind of a joke on the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, and also Night Stalking, because what it is it's about a satanic grocery store. So obviously this book is more comical than my other books. And Ryan Harding and I had been buddies for a while, and we were, talked about doing something just for fun. And so I came up with this idea of like, what if we do this kind of like Assault on Precinct 13 siege story, but it's a satanic grocery store versus a regular grocery store. And the satanic one, they literally kill the competition. So one night while the Fresh Way, the regular supermarket, is doing overnight inventory, they get seized upon by these satanic grocery workers. So yeah, it's a silly book, but it's like a super extreme dark comedy, like much along the lines of like Evil Dead 2 or Premutos or Dead Alive, like that kind of level of carnage, but also silliness. And yes, it's available in paperback, and it's also coming out in a special limited edition signed hardback that's signed by Ryan and I both.
It is. I was just going to say, because I listen, I think I'm about a third of the way through it. Maybe I'm doing the Audible, and it is fucking hilarious, though, dude. It is it is really funny. Like, it gave me some genuine, like, right in the beginning. I won't say what it is, but it is fucking everything that you wanted to do when you're in retail kind of happens in the very beginning, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, like, because I wasn't expecting it to go that way, and it's without saying too much. It starts off with a bang and with laughs as well, but like, I think it's an awesome one.
Thank you. It is funny as long as you have a real sick sense of humor, a real dark sense of humor. It's funny.
No problem here.
Really, I know you have no problem with that. No, none of you guys do. But yeah, when Ryan and I when we discussed it. We were basically like, okay, we came up with the plot and the story, and we would kind of like edit each other's stuff and whatever. But essentially what you have when you read this book is you have 2 extreme horror authors trying to make each other laugh, because I would write some and he would write some, we'd send stuff back and forth, and we were just trying to out gross each other and just make each other laugh. And it also takes place in 1992. I mentioned growing up during the rise of American death metal. Ryan is super into death metal, even way more than me. And so the book is also kind of a tribute to American death metal on top of that. And so there's like a bit of nostalgia in there too, in that it takes place in 1992, which makes it more convenient because there was no cell phones back then. So it makes it a little easier for there to be a siege when no one has a cell phone, back in the days when you could just cut the lines.
Yeah, those are always a pesky nuance that you have to look out for. I know Brian Keene did a good job with the cell phone thing in Urban Gothic. That was one of the earlier books of his that I read, and so I'm like, how are they? I'm like, they're in an urban area. I'm like, they're gonna use their cell phones, and I'm like, oh, okay, now he took care of it. But I know that Ryan also wrote another batshit crazy book, Pandemonium, with Lucas Mangum, and so that was probably along the similar lines of this, where it's just insane kills and just wild. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I want to get that. I want to get the hardcover. I want to get the. I know you guys did what grocery, like the name tags, right?
Yeah, well, it's those were what we did for like the signature plates.
Okay.
So like we signed it, but we made it look like name badges. I also have a bundle that I'll be selling on my website that is the paperback signed by me, but it comes with like some swag stuff because the satanic grocery store in the book is called Devil's Food, and like there's like a logo with a pentagram and everything, and artist Nick Justice made one up for me, and so that's going to be on these buttons and stickers and things that come with the book.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have one of your Kristopher Triana rules buttons that I got when I bought a copy of the 13th Coyote from you, and sweet glow in the dark fangs too.
Yes.
I have them as well.
Yeah, I always try to make a little fun thing when people buy books directly from me. Like 13th Coyote, I made it come with glow in the dark werewolf fangs and some wolf stickers and stuff. So I always add in little things like that. So if you buy directly from me, you get extra goodies.
And I don't know, did we mention that that's the one that's nominated for the Splatterpunk Award this year too? The Night Stalkers is nominated for Best Novel this year, the Splatterpunk Awards, yes. Yeah, so, and you've had quite a few nominations, right? So I mentioned you won for Full Brutal, but what other nominations have you had? Because I know you had quite a few.
Not to brag, but last year I was nominated for three different things, and two of them were novels. So I was actually competing against myself because I had two nominations for Best Novel, and I also had a nomination for Best Short Story Collection for my collection, Blood Relations.
Nice.
What were the novels?
The novels were Gone to See the Riverman and They All Died Screaming. They were both Splatterpunk Award nominees.
Did you have other wins besides Full Brutal?
No, Full Brutal is the only one that I've won so far.
Okay. Yeah, that was excellent. That was the first thing I read by you. I got that a couple of years ago, probably shortly after it came out, and I got it on Kindle. That was the first thing I had read. I'm like, all right, let me check it out because I'd seen the hype about it, and I started reading. I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, this is dark, and it starts off so not innocent, but it's going to get worse, and then even in the first quarter, you're like, all right, this is fucked up, but I got a lot more left to go. And as it gets going, you're like, holy shit! And then you get to the final scenes, and you're like, all right, I wasn't expecting it to go that far. But he really went that far, but there's a reason why it won. I don't know who you were up against that year, but as we can see with the caliber of the nominations over the last couple of years, there's no slouches in any of those categories. So that book definitely deserved to win. But it is not my favorite by you, and I'm going to talk about that one later because I have one that from you, and I don't know if any of your other books will surpass it, but I have one that's near and dear to my heart. And maybe it's just I'm a fucking pervert, but we'll talk about that one later on. But.
Sure.
We can have therapy session with your issues as well.
Oh yeah, this book helped alleviate some of them. It was very good.
Speaking of all your, Chris, what's your favorite? Of all the books you have, what's the one you had the most fun writing?
Well, I think Night Stalkers was the most fun to write because I was co-writing it with Ryan, and we were just having a lot of laughs. But when it comes to my favorite book, that's kind of hard to say because I am proud of them all in different ways. I'm very happy with Gone to See the Riverman because it's been so enormously popular and people really, really enjoyed that book. So that makes me happy when a book, when I'm able to share something like that with such a large amount of people and that it resonates with them, frightens them. I know I'm doing my job, so I love that book. But I also love some of my new stuff too. And The Devil Cried, I think, is just as dark and vicious as Full Brutal. It's not as gory, but it's the protagonist is equally terrible, horrible person. So I'm happy about that one. And my brand new one is A Fine Evening in Hell, and that one's a really dark thriller. And sometimes it's funny. Sometimes I've noticed some horror readers kind of shy away from stuff because it's it looks like it has a crime element, more of a crime novel. I'm like, yeah, I do write crime novels, but it's still me. I'm still going to give you the disturbing, extreme, crazy shit. Even, you know, whether it's a bloodthirsty cheerleader like in Full Brutal, or if it's a crime story that slowly becomes a horror story by the end of the book, like A Fine Evening in Hell. When you first pick that book up, you're thinking, oh, this is kind of a crime thriller, but trust me, it gets very brutal.
Now, Chris, talking about Full Brutal again, I noticed that you put up a post. I don't know if it's on your brand new TikTok or if it is on another account, but Full Brutal has been translated in quite a few languages. Well, can you talk about some of your foreign contracts and how it's been to work with some of those overseas publishers?
Oh yeah, it's been great. I have worked several times with Fester Verlag, and they're absolutely fantastic. They're my German publisher. They've put out several of my books, and I have a lot of wonderful fans in Germany. I get a lot of fan mail from people in Deutschland, and I'm always really happy about that. And yeah, Full Brutal was published in German. It was published in let me see, Russian and Polish, and it's going to come out in a couple of other languages too, but I don't know if I can announce all of that yet. So, and Riverman was also published in German, and it has several contracts out now to be published in different languages. I think the next one coming out is in Spanish, and then there's going to be one in Italian as well, and Russian. So you're going to be seeing more of that one out there too.
Yeah, that one, I read that book as well, and I like the fact that you're able to shift gears kind of, where you talk about, you know, Night Stalkers is fun, over-the-top kind of comedy, but, like, Gone to See the Riverman was not. Like, that was that was fucking serious, and it was serious, and it was disturbing, and it was dark, and when there wasn't a lot of violence, I don't feel it compared to some other of your other books, but when there was, it was there, and it was fucking vicious. And I still think it's probably one of the best endings, like the best last line in any of the books I've read recently. So it was really
thank you, man.
Yeah, that last line, I was like, I told you that at AuthorCon, I'm like, that fucking last line was just badass. Like, So if you haven't read it, go out and read that book, and you'll see what I'm talking about in the end.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I definitely, I have books like that are just very dark and disturbing, like Riverman and The Devil Cried, books like that. And then I'll have stuff like The Night Stalkers or Toxic Love, which has kind of some comedy in there, but there's not a drop of humor in Come to See the Riverman. Not a single morsel. No.
There's a real good like tension in that book too, I think, and an eerie sort of vibe that remains consistent, and that's hard to do, without really letting up at any point,
Yeah, thank you. Because that's really what I was going for. I wanted it to have a constant sense of dread from beginning to end, and so I appreciate that feedback.
Well, I think also, like what Aaron said about the dread, I think the setting itself, just being in the woods, like obviously if you've ever been in the woods, especially if it's raining and it's dreary and cold, like it's a shitty feeling, and especially knowing you're not even there yet, like just going through it, then obviously things progress from there. But it was very atmospheric. I will say that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think maybe some of the authors in the early stages that haven't gotten an international contract or of anything of any nature would maybe want to know what's your approach on that, and you don't have to go into specifics obviously, but is there any kind of advice that you can give, and if you are approached on a translation deal?
Yeah, that's the thing is usually when that's how it works, is you'll be approached. You can't really submit to a foreign publisher and say, hey, you want to translate my book? It's really they come to you. And when it comes to the contracts, I mean, it's just, you have to look at what they're offering. You're not going to get the same amount you would get to have a brand new publication because it is a reprint. And basically, you're just like sitting back and they're just translating it for you. So, the percentage of your royalties will differ from what you would have if it was a fresh release in your own language. But you can still make a very good royalties off of it. I was like blown away by my first royalties check that I got from my German publisher. So no, it's a wonderful experience if you're lucky enough to have it. So I'm very grateful from all the publishers that I've worked with so far.
And I want to kind of to go back to when we were talking about your career, right? And like, you started getting published in anthologies and things like that. What do you contribute to maybe like your work starting to take off a little bit more? I know you work with a variety of publishers too. Is there anything that you can point to that that sort of was the tipping point, you think?
I sold my soul to Satan.
The devil's food? Yeah, you were there.
Yes.
Solid. Did he cry?
With joy, you got a real bargain. I was like, just whatever you got, man, I'll take it. Yeah. You're gonna have this soul. It's pretty beat up and broken. Yeah, I think he wants to return it, but no backsies. It's a combination of things. It's just working hard for a lot of years, and it's being dedicated to the point of just working on it every single day, always writing. I think like reviewers and word of mouth has been tremendous, particularly in the case of Gone to See the Riverman. I think it really spread organically. I didn't have like a whole lot of advertising going on with it or anything like that. Nothing outside of the norm. It just was spread by word of mouth. So that's been a big help, and I just appreciate all of my fans and readers who continue to promote me on social media and their TikToks and TikToms and Instagrams and everything else. But it's just a matter of sticking to it and then being recognized by readers, and then publishers see the readers talking about it, and it just kind of escalates and builds. Yeah, there's no like magic key, and it's funny because I get asked that a lot from writers. It's like, what's the secret? And I'm like, there is no secret. It's just hard work and continuing on and not giving up until you finally get to where you want to be. And it's also taking that constructive criticism and learning from your mistakes and seeing what you can do better, always trying to improve. So
yeah, it's like you might need just a little bit of luck in there, obviously.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
But yeah, I think most anyone, as long as, like you said, I always talk about consistency, and just not stopping, and it kind of has to be your life if you want to be able to have it sustain you. Like if that's truly your goal, it has to be that, and you got to be. And I think you and me were talking about this too, and I've talked about it with Dan a bunch of times too. And it's like you have to diversify and start creating alternate streams of revenue as well. Like it can't just be Amazon royalties. It's got to be other things. You got to work with signed copies and build your brand. I think brand building is real important.
It just depends on what you want to do with it. I know plenty of writers that they don't do a lot of they don't sell books from home or do a lot of conventions or anything. They just write the work and have managed to build up just from the quality of the work. And I mean, you are right, there is an element of luck here and there but I think it's more about just the stick-to-itiveness and just continuing to try and continuing to work and not giving up, and that and just having the talent of actually perfecting your craft and always trying to make it better. Even if you have reached some success, I am constantly trying to improve my writing and make it better. I never think, okay, this is it, this is good. I'm always trying to make it better. So, I think it really has more to do with hard work than anything else.
Hey guys, unfortunately, I have to bounce off for a second. Sean's car broke down, so I have to go get him. Yeah, I know, right?
That sucks, dude.
He's got his legs broken.
I know, ain't this some shit? He's only about 4 miles away, so I'm gonna go run, pick him up, and then I'll jump back on as soon as I get back.
All right,
Be safe, dude. Be safe.
I'll jump back on as soon as I get back.
I hope everything's all right.
All right.
No, I think we talk about, like, you know, people want that magic, the magic pill, the magic bullet there to elevate them, and we all do. Like we said, you'd rather be lucky than good any day. I mean, look at some of the books that have risen, not in horror, but we'll take like 50 Shades. I've seen the movies. I haven't read any of them, but I mean, that book, in all intents and purposes, was not well written according to some other bigger names. It's made millions, if not billions, of dollars.
But there's a difference with that, though. Like,
absolutely.
that's porn for women. That's
yes, and
that's what it is.
And it did very very well.
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, like I don't think we can hold any grudges against it for that. But it's
absolutely not.
But it's like it's a different thing when you're like, you know, it's not really genre fiction. It's sex fantasy book.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of books about Bigfoot fucking. It's like a whole genre of like Bigfoot porn. And I read an article about an author who that's all she writes is Bigfoot porn, and she's able to live off of that. She makes a ton of money, you know. Yeah. So
dinosaurs now too. Apparently,
dino porn.
Dino porn's a huge thing, and they have like the worst like clip art covers and stuff. But but like you said, grinding and just keep going, and you know, there's nothing wrong with doing it. Like I don't do this full time. I do it part time, obviously, and it's enjoyable to me. And for some people, it's their full time job. So, you know, some people have more time to dedicate to it. They also, I know, right, for the three of us, like I generally don't suffer from writer's block. I really never have. I always can find a way to push through, and some people do. And you know, it's unfortunate, and sometimes, and also these things, they get in the way. Your cell phone, like people sit there and I've been guilty of it too, where you're distracted. You should be writing and you're on TikTok or you're on Facebook and you're trying to do something, and all of a sudden it's an hour later and you wrote 12 words. So I think, like you said, grinding it out, sticking with it, working hard, and just kind of just keep going, keep pushing through, and evolving.
When I'm writing, I turn my phone off. I put it in the other room or something. I get rid of it. I don't listen to music. I don't have anything in the background. I just try to just focus and concentrate, because anything creates a distraction. You know, like if I'm editing, I'll put music on, but if I'm really writing, I don't put it on, because like how easy is it you'll be listening to something and then all of a sudden you're like, I want to skip this song, go to the next song. See, it's pulling you out of what you're supposed to be doing. It's taking focus away, even if it's just for a second, you know? So yeah, I mean, you have to make the time, and I know it's not easy for everyone. Like I don't have, you know, a family. I don't have kids or anything like that, you know, and like it's definitely more of a struggle for writers who do have kids to make the time to write or even work on the stuff related to writing, like trying to promote your stuff or working with publishers and doing edits with publishers or whatever. You know, it's more difficult for people who have, you know, families and other obligations, day jobs, like you said. You know, but even when I had a full-time day job and I was working 45, 50 hours a week, I still, you know, constantly wrote and constantly churned out books because it's what I'm most passionate about.
Yeah, I think you bringing up the family thing is interesting because, like, I understand that everyone's situation's different, but if you take Dan, for example, like, Dan's a great example. He has a family, full-time job. He fucking gets up and crushes every day. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
He gets up and he finds a way to get his words in, and he consistently releases books at high quality. And it's like, if he can do it, why can't you? You know,
yep,
like
exactly.
So it's like, I understand there's other people that have situations. You know, maybe there's somebody that's ill or something like that. But look, if you have a functional family and a relatively normal life, and you know, it could be done. It's just how much do you want it, you know?
Right.
But
right.
It goes back to anything, because people will say that often about like working out. Like, oh, I have no time to work out. I have no time to work out. And I'm like, well, do you have a spare 20 minutes? And they're like, well, No, well, yeah, of course I have 20 minutes. And like, well,
Yeah.
you could fucking work out.
No,
But
people make excuses. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what they do. And like you said, you're passionate about it. Aaron is. I'm passionate about it. So every day, that's what I tell myself. I'm going to get up early, and I'm going to spend 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to write, and that's it. And I'm able to put stuff out.
Yeah, and it's like you said with the gym thing. You know, it applies to anything in life. You know, like if you want to do it, if you really want to do it, you should just fucking do it. And yeah, like you can make the time to do things, even if it's not as much time as you want it to be. Think about how much time, like Dan, you were just saying, people fuck around on the phone, looking at stupid bullshit online. That's time that you could be spending working out or writing or reading more, whatever you want. I hear this a lot too, where people say, "Oh, I wish I just had more time to read," and then they'll go and they'll binge watch an entire season of Stranger Things. Like, the night it drops, they'll just watch the whole fucking thing. I was like, you just spent hours in front of the TV. You can't tell me you don't have time to read. You can tell me you don't want to read. You can tell me you're too tired to read, but don't tell me you don't have time, because you clearly do.
But Chris, the television is God, dude.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah.
No, seriously though, the phone thing is a fucking problem, though, dude. It really is. Especially like, I've struggled with it a little bit recently, only because I'm doing a lot of like promotion stuff and trying to run a store to generate revenue as well. And so I find that like I'm being more distracted now, and it's like I need to. But
that's still work. That's business. That you're still working on writing in that regard. It's not like you're just watching cat videos or something. Well, then there's nothing wrong with watching cat videos, don't get me wrong, but you're not wasting time, is what I'm saying.
But I find myself, okay, I'll go on to do something business-oriented, and then I spend a few minutes scrolling on top of it. Or even though I'm answering comments, I think I just need to be more regimented about dedicating a specific block of time to do that.
Yeah.
Instead of sort of like breaking into it.
Yeah, don't be on it. Don't be on it several times a day. Just try to you jump on it once or twice a day. Make a little dumbass rap video with me, and we'll post it online, and then just leave it alone until tomorrow. You check the comments tomorrow, let them build up, and then you just say hi to everybody, and then you're done.
Everybody gets a heart emoji.
Everyone gets a heart, yeah. But no, it's great. I love when people comment on my stuff. It means the world to me, and I always try to comment back to people and write people back when they send me fan mail or whatever. I always try to do that. But I will wait I'll post something and I'll wait to go back to it, because I don't want to have that kind of like crack addiction of just being like, oh, I gotta check, did I get likes? Did I get likes? Did I get likes? So a lot of people are like that, and it's something that people really need to try to break free of. I really, for all the good that social media has done, I think it's done tremendous damage to us as human beings. I think it's one of the worst things that has ever happened to humanity. In the sense of, in many senses, I don't want to get off on a rant about it, but even just the time suck, and the fact that now when you go to places, people are always sitting and looking at their phone. You never see someone in a doctor's office reading a book anymore. It's always with the phone. So
yeah.
Well, it goes beyond that too. It's just like people on phones in general all the time, like
all the time,
anywhere, dude. And I'm guilty of it to some point too. I mean, it's just like we're going in a bad trajectory with that.
It's terrible. Like you and I have hung out. I mean, how often am I checking my phone when we hang out? I don't do it. Like we'll be making something, like we'll make a dumb TikTok or something, but like as far as like constantly checking texts or whatever, it drives me nuts when people do that. It's like, no, you had driven up to see me. I'm not going to be texting somebody else. I'm going to be paying attention to you because you're actually there in person. It drives me nuts when I'll go to a restaurant and I'll see people, like, a man and a woman, they're on a date or something, they're both on their phone at a restaurant. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
It makes you really question like where we're fucking going with this. It's kind of scary when you think about it.
It's all going to hell. No, we're all just going down this fucking crapper. Absolutely, I have no doubt about that.
Yeah,
no, we're fucked. We're absolutely fucked as a society.
Well, Chris, what you said about putting your phone in another room, I find myself having to do that more and more because I'll hit like a scene where I'm like, I don't know where to go with this. And I'm like, let me just go on fucking Facebook for a second. And I'll get on my phone. I'll be scrolling through. I'm like, fuck, I just wasted 10 minutes. So I've now, when I start to write in the morning, I take it and I put it in the kitchen and I don't touch it until I'm done. I go through my entire, and I wrote today and I end up getting out probably another 500 words on top of what I normally would get just because my phone was nowhere near me. So even if I had that urge to check it, I couldn't because I would have to get up and go in another room to get it. So
yeah. I mean, you can leave the ringer on like for emergencies with your family, but you don't need to have it like people seem to think they have to have it on them at all times. It's like you don't need to take it everywhere you go.
Yeah. We were kids. Your phone was on the fucking wall.
Yeah.
So I mean,
like I go to the store. I go to like CVS or the gas station. I don't bring my phone all the time. I don't. What the fuck do I need it for? I'm just going down the fucking street. I don't know. It's just a different generation, I guess. Just showing my age.
Yeah. Well, let's do more old bum talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
speaking of old bum.
Oh shit! Old bumming.
Oh, that was on time, Daniel. He'll get your ass.
Calvin's back.
Calvin's back. His old bum.
That was the fastest throw I ever did.
Boy.
That was pretty fast.
Yeah.
We were just old man ranting about phones.
Yeah. We're gonna go outside and yell at clouds when it's getting dark.
Yeah. Yell at the stars.
Yeah. Bastards.
All right. So what else? What else we got?
You don't want what? You don't want to talk about phones no more, bro? Come on, man.
I want kids. I don't want
to
their damn music.
I don't want to continue to like rant about social media and all that stuff. Let's go back to talking about horror.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of your inspirations. I think inspiration's always like a key thing, because you do, like you said, you do write crime thriller to a sense, but there is those horror elements within crime, and we do get grisly still,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you have your more traditional horror stuff or the horror comedy like you have with Night Stalkers. But where do you think a lot of this inspiration comes from? Like, I imagine some of it's got to be via film, I would think, in films that you've seen, because I know you're a big movie guy. But
oh yeah, I'm very, very big movie guy. Yeah, I don't know. I draw inspiration from everywhere, just the world around me. It could be something that happens to me personally that triggers a story idea, or it could be, I'll be like you said, I'll watch a movie and I'll be like, I what I would have done with this story, I would have done this and that, and I build a whole entirely different story out of it, or whatever. So I draw a lot of inspiration from other writers, that inspire me with, their great books, filmmakers, even, listening to music fills my head with visions, so you get it from everywhere. It's that tough question that writers always get asked of where you get your ideas from. And they just come out of the ether, they just form in the imaginative mind. And, like everyone, when they're kids, has this big imagination. Everyone talks about a childlike imagination. And I think, everybody has it as a kid. And think about it when you're little, and whether you're playing with He-Man or Barbie or whatever you were creating a world and characters and having them interact and do things. You were writing a story, and I think as people get older, a lot of people just lose that. They get too wrapped up in reality in the real world, and that's fine. It's just, not everybody needs to be a creator. Some people are excellent at doing other things that I could never fucking do. A lot of that left-brained type of stuff. But that's what I kind of related to. It's just like, okay, so where did those ideas come from for you when you were a kid and you were playing with your toys? Where did those ideas come from? You don't know. It's just how your mind works. The imagination works.
Hey, are you writing full time? I don't know if you guys touched on that when I was gone.
I am presently. I never want to say that I won't have to do other things, because you never know what life throws at you, and it's tough for writers to really, survive, particularly like me. I'm on my own. I don't have a spouse or significant other. I'm just a hermit that lives in the woods. And it's like, you laugh, but it's true.
That sounds like a life. I'm sorry.
I'm like this close to being like Ted Kaczynski, like in a shack, like, but I forgot what we were talking about.
Now I'm going to be nervous whenever I get book mail from you.
Yeah, so you open it up and it's ticking there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about now before I forget, or I'm not going to forget, but before we get off topic with something else. So my favorite book by you, by far, and I've read quite a few of them, is Body Art. I fucking love Body Art. I don't know if it's just because I'm just a disgusting pervert, but it has to do with a lot of really disgusting, raunchy ass sex. Could you tell me, are these based on any real porn stars? Because there's some of them I'm like, I don't know. It could be somebody, or maybe not. Or is it just a culmination of all of your I'm sure you did research for this.
Oh yeah,
very depictive. So could you just talk about this a little bit? Because I'm very, very curious.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the porn stuff, it really was just kind of more inspired by like that very short-lived time in our history, in the late 70s, or just the 70s in general, where porn became kind of chic, and you had movies like Deep Throat and Debbie Does Dallas and The Devil and Miss Jones, where it was like a film. It like was made like with a script and actual like film and gaffers and grips and all this stuff. Not like what we have now, where anyone with a video camera can make a porn and they post it online. These were actually films that premiered and like everything, and have stories. They have like full stories. Long scenes without any sex, and then they get to the sex, and it's 100% hardcore sex. And so I just find that fascinating, the way that porn has changed from that so much. And so that was one of the things that kind of inspired the book. Is like, okay, if the people from the old days like still wanted to be relevant, what would they have to do to kind of top everything that we have now? Because we have so many different types of porn, and some of it's very extreme and weird. So I wanted to write a book about people making the most extreme dirty movies ever, but I didn't want it to be snuff, because snuff is a tired trope in and of itself. So I didn't want it to be snuff. So if the thing in the book that you'll notice is none of it, there's no like, it's not like rape or child molestation or snuff. The people that are having horrible things done to them, they're getting cut up and mutilated as they're fucking, they all have a fetish for that. They all want to be there. They all want to do what they're doing. And then I was like, and then I threw a supernatural element on top of it, and the supernatural element gets more evil and more violent, and that's where you really start to get, the murders and the real brutality and horror. But when it comes to the people making the films, it's all consensual.
Yeah, I mean, I thought again, like you said, like the build up on this one was excellent when you first. Just the opening scenes and everything like that. But when the red dust and stuff starts getting introduced, you're like, all right, this is kind of weird. And then again, you have a crime element involved, as so often there is sometimes in pornography. And that's a whole nother, ball of wax. And then when everything starts coming together towards the end, again, it's one of your, I think, signature batshit endings. And it was, like I said, I read this book by you, and I think I flew through it in like a day or two. I was like, holy shit, this is wild. Like,
yeah.
And I loved Full Brutal, and I loved Riverman. And like I said, they're very, very different books. But this one to me had that little bit of seriousness, the little bit of humor. Obviously, the porn stuff's awesome as well. But that's so far my favorite. I think those are the only ones I've read. I haven't read 13 Coyote. I have it, but I want to talk about that one a little bit as well, because I know you have a new one coming out, a sequel to that one that was just announced not long ago.
Yes, it should be coming out next month. It's called Ballad of the Werevixens, and it's a direct sequel to the 13th Coyote. It's a splatter western about werewolves. And it's part of a trilogy. It's going to be there's going to be a third one. And each of the books is over 500 pages long, so it's going to be a big long trilogy.
So I have the 13th Coyote here, and you guys can see like when I have it on the shelf next to my other Death's Head splatter westerns. This one is like 4 of them. It stands out. I think Chris Miller's book Dust is pretty thick. but not nearly the size of this one.
Are you saying that Triana's is the thickest? Is that what you're...
He's got the most girth out of the first 8 that I have. He's definitely the girthiest of the first 8.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that book, it actually, now that I have a scale in my house, because I'm a drug dealer, no, I'm not, but like that book actually weighs over a pound, which is hilarious, you know.
yeah, I don't doubt it, because I remember when I got it from you, I was like, holy shit, like I didn't realize how big, because I was used to the other ones from Death's Head, all the splatter westerns that I had purchased, and they're all, you know, novella size, 200 or 200 something pages. And then I got this, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I mean, this is enormous. And then when I heard Werevixens is the same size, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, Werevixens is actually longer. Those are going to be coming out in German as well. And I was telling Aaron about this. All of my books, like that have been published in German, Full Brutal and Body Art, etc. When you put them together, like the German versions are always twice as long, twice as many pages, twice as thick, and it has something to do with just the German language having longer words, more consonants, and everything. It's that it's just the same story will just be a longer book in that language. And so Frank, with Festa, when he got the 13th Coyote, he's like, we're going to have to do this in 2 books. Otherwise, it's going to be a phone book. It's going to be absolutely huge. So that's going to be a 6-part series in Germany as opposed to a 3-part series here. It's going to be separated into 6 books.
When you're writing a big story like that, do you outline your story or like prior to starting, or just?
I do rough outlines. I know there's some writers who do a complete full outline. To me, that's too limiting. I think it puts your mind in a box and says, okay, here's the rules. You got to play by these. I like more anarchy as I'm writing. I like to let the characters kind of change and reveal themselves. So many times in books I've been writing, I had a character that I was going to kill off, and then I decided to make them live and do other things, and they became the main character, you know, as opposed to when I thought they were just going to be a victim or something. So I like to, you know, and I always have like a sheet like where I keep track of all the characters' names, and I like to outline the characters more than I outline the story, you know, so the characters will be consistent throughout the story of who they are and what they're like. So I'll have like, okay, this character's name is Robert. He's 28. He was raised here. There's certain phrases or ways he talks, certain things that he says, you know, and so I have like these kind of character snapshots, you know, on the side. But yeah, I'll outline as I go too. You know, like I'll be like, okay, I'm on chapter 20, and here's what I want to happen in it, and I'll just kind of write that down real fast. Like, okay, this and this needs to happen, so I don't forget. But I don't play by the rules of my own outline. I do whatever I want.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I think we can talk about a little bit too. Maybe we should, at this point, actually talk about, before we get into the questions, talk about the splatter westerns a little bit more. Is there an official... Actually, I should say, because you're going to be launching, I know you've teased a website too. Do you want to maybe talk about that and sort of the launch and some of the stuff you're going to have available?
Let's talk about it. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that. It's trianahorror.com. So it's my last name, Triana, horror.com. And it's going to be launching in about 2 weeks. So, you know, just write that down now, everybody, or just follow me on all the social medias, and I'll be whoring it out. So, but yeah, I'm going to be selling signed books and book bundles. I have hardback books, paperback books. The bundles come with all different goodies, like you guys were talking about earlier. Some come with, you know, fangs. Some come with buttons and stickers, and the Riverman book comes with you know, a special key that's, you know, in relation to something that's in the book. So yeah, there's going to be all sorts of stuff on there, and there's also going to be apparel. There'll be a link for you know, a separate part of the store. There's going to be T-shirts and barware and leggings and all sorts of fun stuff, featuring some of the artwork that everyone knows and loves, and also featuring some new artwork. So I have some newly acquired artwork that I commissioned through some very talented artists, including comic book artists Barry McLean and Nick Justice. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming, and it'll be in about 2 weeks or 2 weeks from the time of this recording. I don't know when this is going to air. So,
Aaron, you're on mute.
yeah, I couldn't hear you, Aaron.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
I'm an old man.
Sorry.
Forgive me.
Your brain is mush.
Old dirty bastards, what we are. You know?
I think it will probably your store will probably be active by the time this airs.
Okay, great. So go to trianahorror.com, folks, and get all your goodies.
Absolutely. But that's cool. So that's good. And then I know you're doing a lot with audiobooks too, right? You've released quite a few. I know in the Devil Cried was relatively recently released. Yeah,
that just came out a couple of weeks ago in audiobook, and yes, I'm excited about that. I think I have 6 audiobooks out now. And there will be other ones, but you can get body art, I'm sorry, no, you can't get body art. You can get Full Brutal, and Gone to See the Riverman, Toxic Love, Shepherd of the Black Sheep, Ruin Season. So if you want to try some of my more crime stuff, Ruin Season, Shepherd of the Black Sheep are both crime, and they're available on there too.
Whoever narrated Toxic Love did a really good job. I mean,
yeah. Okay, that's Spencer. He goes by Chuck Brugge, I think is how he pronounces it. He goes by a different name, but yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. And he also does And the Devil Cried. And he does The Night Stalkers as well as an audiobook. So he read all 3 of those for me. So yeah, I've worked with him a lot. He's awesome.
Thanks. How did you find your narrators?
Auditions.
Okay.
Yeah, just taking auditions. Danny George is a female narrator that I've worked with, and she did such an amazing job on Full Brutal. She really captured the voice of the main character, Kim, and also a character called Caitlin, who was a very important character in the book. She really did it very well, and so I ended up using her for Gone to See the Riverman and The Long Shadows of October. She did both of those books for me, and she also read a couple of short stories in the audiobook of Growing Dark, which is an audiobook of my short stories, and that's read by multiple different people. John Wayne Comunale, the author and musician, he read some of the stories. They're written by me, but he did the narration. He's a really good narrator. And Danny George did some, and even I did some. There's 2 stories where I actually read the stories.
Shouts out to John Wayne.
Shouts out to John Wayne.
John Wayne's awesome. He's a great narrator. He narrated my first novella, Billy Silver, and he's done. I think he did Chandler Morrison's one of his books. He did one for Frank Edler. He's done a bunch, and he's
really good at
super
it.
Talented, and he's quick and he's dedicated. Like that guy, I gave him the script for the book, and it was within like days. I had the first 15 minutes. He's like, "All right, here you go. Here's chapter 1. What do you think?" And I'm like, "All right, you're good to go. Hammer it out." And I think I had that book back to me within a week or 2. I mean, it's not very long, but he is a machine.
He's awesome. He's a hardworking guy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
He was real good in Pandemonium too. I listened to him perform that. And you want to talk about a fucking wide range of characters in a book? Like, there's a crazy amount of characters in Pandemonium, and like, he did a real good job with making them all shine in a different way. And that that was when I was like, okay, I need to try and ask him about doing a book. So I think he's going to be doing one of my books in the near future.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to. I think he's doing some stuff on the road, and then when he comes back, I'm going to work with him. But yeah, any authors looking for audiobook people, definitely his rates are reasonable too. Just shoot him a message.
Audiobooks and art as well, because he does. I know he was doing art commissions at points in time. I know he always does some very, very cool art, and I know he did one of the D&T logos for D&T Publishing. He did one of their things as well. So John Wayne is the man, and he does. His narrations are awesome. I've listened to a few of his books that he's narrated, and you can tell like he gets so fucking into it with everybody's work, but his own stuff, like he knows exactly how those characters need to sound, and can't say enough good things about him for
Yep. He's also the co-host of Vital Social Issues and Stuff with Chris and John Wayne, which is the podcast that he and I have. So yeah, he does a lot of stuff. And he's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great show. Also, I'm glad you brought that up because That show's been around for a while, right? You guys you're in like, what, 60-something, almost 70th episode, I think?
Yeah, close to 70 episodes now, yeah.
You're up there, and I love listening to them. I have called the Corey hotline once or twice, and so it was always fun. I was always nervous. I'm like, these guys are probably like, they're like, oh, call the Corey hotline. I'm like, I'm not doing it. They're going to think I'm a fucking asshole. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, I'm calling it. I was like, I'm calling him. I don't care. Let them think I'm a fucking asshole. But it's a great show. So anybody that hasn't listened to that, that's on pretty much I think I listened to it on Spotify, but is it anywhere else, Chris?
Yeah, any podcatcher you can get it on, and you can also watch the videos on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces.
The episode with you and Aaron and John Wayne obviously was fucking hysterical. I was like pissing myself laughing. You guys were just complete fucking maniacs, and then your love for Cobra was really unsettling.
Yeah.
And,
it is.
Like the whole time, I've never seen Cobra. So
you gotta see that, dude. What the
you know,
fuck?
I don't watch. I'm not a movie person. I don't watch a lot of
movies. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna give you the Rocky Maivia shit. It doesn't matter.
Cobra is not simply a movie, my friend. Cobra is a way of life.
Well, I had, when you were raving about the opening, I was like, I have to go on YouTube and fucking watch the opening, and I watched it, and it was all it was cracked up to be.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's the best. That movie is a fucking masterpiece, man. It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
That was such a good episode with the three of you guys just going fucking hard in the paint, like 3 hours long. I don't even know how long the episode was.
It was stupid. We just went on and on. That's the thing with our show is we go way too long with it because we're just having fun. But we have a couple different skits we do too. We always do a book of the week and try to promote a cool new book or author. And we also have a skit that we really love doing called Ridiculous Reads, where we just find a really silly book, and it's just it's just funny that it even exists, and a lot of time they're movie tie-ins, so it'll be like the novelization of Face Off. Like I read that at one point, the novelization of Face Off, or like John Wayne read like a novelization of an episode of Family Ties. There was like a Family Ties book.
Yeah, that book.
And of course, when Aaron was on, he read from the Ultimate Ninja book. So like we were very lucky to have him read that for us. So yeah, when we have guests on, we always ask them if they want to like surprise us and do a ridiculous read of whatever they might have as well.
It's funny.
Aaron's was by far the most ridiculous read I think I've heard on that show. It was fucking insane.
Oh, my boy, you're talking about my boy Robert Hamburger, dude? No, it was just, it was funny though, because he's like, oh, did you want to do a ridiculous read? And then I was like, oh man, I couldn't think of anything. But then I was like, wait a minute. It just came to me and I was like, Robert Hamburger, dude. This is next level shit. So if you guys want to know about The Real Ultimate Power, the official ninja book by Robert Hamburger, please check out the show.
Yeah, it's the show is worth watching for that segment alone. Especially watch the video, because I think John Wayne almost died 3 times because he was. Yeah. Not only was he trying to smoke, but then he was laughing hysterically, almost falling out of his chair. So it was well worth it.
How fucked up was it that John Wayne had read that shit too, though?
Yeah, he knew the book.
Yeah,
he was well versed in the etiquette of the ninja.
Right. Yeah, he like has it somewhere. Yeah. I had never heard of it, but I'm not a ninja, so.
Well, it's never too late.
Anybody listening?
Technically, I'm a samurai.
Yeah.
Splitting hairs.
Anybody listening, definitely go check out Chris and John Wayne's podcast. It's well worth it. You had an Urban Legends run for a while, right? Summer Slashers. You had some guests on. Horror authors were on there as well. So anybody listening to this, definitely you'll be in good company checking that out.
Yeah, it's all right.
This is the best show ever.
Watch it. Yeah. All right, go watch their mediocre show. It's pretty good.
It's all right.
All right, well, what do you guys...
Dead Alive earlier.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. Have you guys ever seen Dead Alive? I know, not you, Daniel.
Oh, yeah, I love Dead Alive.
Love
Rules.
It.
So funny. Daniel, I take it you haven't seen it.
I probably haven't. I don't watch a lot of movies. You know that. Let's do some questions before Christopher reaches through the screen and chokes me. But
I'm still mad about. I'm still not mad. I'm disappointed.
That's even worse
about Cobra. I know it's worse. That's why I said it.
Son of a bitch.
Nah, dude, Cobra is it's just beyond insane. That movie. It's just a ridiculous movie. It's like the ridiculous reads of movies. Like, it's so absurd, that movie. So I love it.
I'm with you. And I think now might be a decent time to roll into some reader questions. What do you guys think?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So it looks like we got some pretty good ones on here.
Did Matt Shaw put one up?
Let me refresh real quick, because this screen has been the same for a minute.
Matt Shaw's questions are always highly inappropriate.
Nice.
Let's see here.
Imagine that coming from Matt Shaw.
I know.
The guy rules.
It's shocking.
He was fun to have on too. He was hilarious.
Yeah, he's really funny.
He said cunt about 47 times in the first 20 minutes. So it was nice.
I said penis immediately when we started the show.
That's right. That's right.
Screamed penis.
Yeah, you got to give him his credit on that. Okay, I don't think he put one, unfortunately, but let me just start out with the questions that are outside of the Written and Read podcast, because there's a couple on my normal profile, I think.
Stephen Kozanowski has a very good question as well, which I can't wait to get down to his.
He's good. He's so good.
He's handsome. He's good. He's a good writer. I'm just finished up the audiobook of his book, The Ghoul Archipelago. So he's a total package, that guy.
Yeah. He'll be on the show along with Wiley Young on June 6th, guys. So we'll be
June 9th.
June 9th. Oh yeah, 6-9.
69.
Yeah, we wanted them on 6-9. There's two of them. It's a number thing.
Sexy. And apparently they're going to 69 live on the show, right?
Standing
Yeah.
because Wiley's very big and strong.
Yeah, he's going to hold him. Yeah, it's going to be hot, man.
Like actual hot, like temperature.
Yes, it's going to be like balmy and sweaty and gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to be doing it like in a big kiddie pool full of curly fries as well.
And Arby's sauce.
Yes, extra Arby's sauce.
Well, speaking of hot meat, this question
Hot
comes
take.
from
Fucking Andrew Dice Clay over here.
Hey!
Speaking of hot meat. You kids know who that is? Have you heard of him, Daniel?
the Dice Man?
Yes, I like Andrew Dice Clay.
Did you watch his comedy special, you piece of shit?
Ask the question.
All right, I will. RJ Rolls, shout out Books of Horror. He's one of the admins of Books of Horror, a great group that does a lot for all of us. So every time we bring him up, I make sure I say a whole paragraph about it. And thank you guys. But RJ Rolls asks him, when making tacos, is there a proper meat to cheese ratio? This is obviously a trick question, he says.
No, there actually is. And it's funny you say that, because I'm actually making tacos as soon as I get off the phone with you fucking jack-offs. No, I say that, I mean, you can't have enough cheese, but when you're filling the taco, it should be at least 3/4 of meat should fill it, 3/4, and everything else is just kind of decorative. It's just garnish. Yeah, the more meat, the better it's going to be.
If you get that meat hot, like Kaz and Wiley connected, if it's at that level heat, that cheese, you can multiply that, because that cheese will melt, and then you can add additional layers to your benefit.
That's
now,
true.
I've heard something, and I think it's blasphemy, but I want to ask you: do you do meat on your shell first or cheese on your shell first?
And there is meat first.
There's a subculture of Inhumans.
Sickos.
Yes, Inhumans that put cheese on first and then put the meat on top. I don't understand.
Do what you want. Tacos are
no,
very
fuck that,
malleable.
man.
No,
Do what you want.
there's a line in the
What you
sand
want.
because the cheese melts and it runs into the meat.
What's wrong with that?
That's what you want. You want the meat first and then the cheese on top.
No, okay.
Listen, you got to draw the fucking line somewhere with these people, okay?
It's hard to fuck up a taco. Is my point. They're magical. They're magically delicious.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Aaron, hit us with another one.
All right, so my boy John Lynch. Shout out to John Lynch. He's also from Rhode Island, actually. He's a member of the Horror Writers Association. I think he just had a story accepted to D&T Publishing for one of their anthologies. And he's supported the shit out of many of us. So thank you, John. He says, which book of yours is your favorite? Which I think you might have answered that, right? Didn't you say?
Yeah, we kind of covered that. Yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, I love them all. I will say that people tend to the more people love Riverman than anything else, though. So if you want my most popular, that's what that would be that one. But me personally, I don't think I could really pick a favorite.
Well, what about this? Which was the most difficult to write?
I don't know. I think it just depends on which ones I do the most research for. That would make it difficult. Like the 13th Coyote. I've always been a fan of westerns, and so I brought a lot of that knowledge to it. But I also wanted to be authentic as possible, and so I went and double checked like as much as I could to make it as authentic as I could to the Wild West, to the time period in the late 1800s where it takes place. So that was difficult because I had to do extensive research, everything. I wanted the guns to be authentic, like down to like, okay, these rifles had hexagon barrels instead of perfectly round barrels, and looking into like something as simple as like he went to grab the doorknob to open the door. And I was like, wait a minute, did doorknobs exist yet? Or was it just a pull handle, So it's like you have to think about stuff like that when you're writing a period piece. So I think that might have been the most difficult in the sense that I had to be very meticulous. Even though it's a fucking story about werewolves and maenads and all sorts of like supernatural creatures, I still wanted to be authentic to the time period. So
I think it's important though. People take notice of it, and it's like I don't think I've really written anything that far back, but that must be pretty challenging. Like I've gone, back to like 80s, 90s, and there you got to think a lot about, technology and certain things. Also, like sometimes stupid shit you got to think about, like Powerball. Like I wrote something about Powerball, and I was like, well, when did Powerball start? Like I didn't really know that, and I was like, it was actually Lotto America back then that people played, and I was like, so there's little things that you can do to add a bite,
Yeah, I mean, you want to be authentic to it. You don't want to sound like you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Luckily, with the Western thing, splatter Westerns have become very popular and become very trendy in recent years due to Death Head's press series. But when I was writing The 13th Coyote, I was writing it before that series had even begun. Because I love Westerns and I love Western horror. So I didn't jump into it saying, hey, I'm gonna write a Western because I was asked to do it. I was already doing it, for my own passion, for my own just loving the genre. And even in like some of my short stories collection, some of my earliest published stuff was horror Westerns. Some of the stories that are in Growing Dark, for example, because it's just another genre that I really, really love.
Yeah, and that legend story in Growing Dark is really cool because I know you had pointed me to that one because we both like Bronson a lot. So
thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But you notice, like I've noticed this, like in certain like horror Westerns and stuff that I've read, is sometimes you can tell that the writer just knows Western movies because it's just like, okay, you're just doing a horror version of a Clint Eastwood movie. And you can tell that they've never read a Western novel in their life, And I'm not trying to call out anybody from the recent splatter Westerns. I'm talking about just horror Westerns in general, because like that's been going on for decades, And sometimes I've been disappointed trying to like find those books back in the day and just being like, okay, this guy clearly has never knows nothing about this time period and only knows Westerns from John Wayne movies and stuff. So
bunch of fucking hacks, right?
No, what my point is if you're going to write something, you have to don't write a book when you've never read books in that genre, Just doesn't make sense. It's like, don't think you can do it just because you saw a movie, It's like, oh, I saw this movie, so I could write this. It's like, no, you want to really immerse yourself in the genre. If you're going to be writing about it, if you're going to write a crime novel, read a bunch of crime novels first. If you're going to write a Western, read a bunch of Western novels first. Even if you're a horror writer, if you're going to delve into that subgenre and you think, oh, it doesn't matter, it's a horror story, it just happens to take place in the Wild West. Bullshit, it does matter. You want to know what the fuck you're doing. Otherwise you come off as sounding like you don't know what you're talking about, and it hurts your books.
Imagine this though, Chris. What if the writer read all of those fucking hack Western horror ones as material? It's like a paradox, dude.
Yeah, could happen. It could happen.
All right, so John also wants to know what's the writing process in general like for you?
Well, I wake up in the morning and I cry and masturbate and get all that out of the way. Sometimes at the same time.
I've seen the videos.
You have, yep. That's on my OnlyFans. No, I write every day. The times that I don't write is if I'm spending the day with company, or if I'm away and visiting people, then I won't. But other than that, I write every single day, and usually I like to start in the morning and then be done by around 5 o'clock or something. And maybe I'll be working on not necessarily writing something, but I'll be working on editing something I've already written, or going through the edits that my publisher has made that I need to approve or check out. So it's still working on writing in relation to writing. And I'll usually take a break in the middle of the day and take my dog for a nice long walk or a hike, and then think more about what I'm working on, and then come back and work some more.
Chris, what's an average word count for you in a day? 'Cause that seems like a very long day of writing. Are you constantly writing, or are you mixing research in, or what's an average day of word count?
It depends on the day. It depends what scene I'm writing, if I need to do research or if I need to do rewrites or edits. It just depends on the day. But yeah, I mean, it could be on a rough day it might be 1,000 words. On a good day it could be 7,000 words. It just depends on what I'm working on and how the day is going. Because some days it's just not going to flow, and it's even if you're not blocked, even if it's not writer's block, you just have the blahs, you don't feel good, or you can't concentrate, you got other shit on your mind. So it just depends. Some days are good, some days are bad. But I always at least make that effort. I always at least try. And if it's not working, it's not working. I say, okay. Sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you'd be like, okay, I just need a day to just sit in my underpants and eat Milk Duds and watch Cobra. You just need to just unwind. You can't because otherwise you'll burn out. You can't just push yourself when you're just not feeling it at all.
Is that your strength? You go back to Cobra when you need that strength?
Yeah, he's always been there for me in the hardest times. Marin Cobretti. But no, you know what I'm saying. It's you always want to work. You always want to make that effort. But sometimes it's just not working, and sometimes you need to relax and unwind and just watch some horror movies or watch something stupid and just relax, have a drink, take an edible, beat up someone weaker than you, just have a good time.
And that's why I'll never go back to your house. But no. All right, and John's last question you already answered. It's do you plot or pants? You kind of answered that for us already, I think.
Yeah.
Bill Fisher asks, do you ever see yourself writing fun or less extreme horror?
Well, I mean, I think some of the extreme stuff that I've done has been fun, like Night Stalkers and Toxic Love. But yeah, I guess it just depends on your definition of fun horror. I think the funniest horror is the horror that is overly gory, because you can have a gory story or movie and have it be very upsetting in its level of gore, like a movie like Martyrs, for example. That's a very upsetting, gory movie. But then you could have a movie, like Evil Dead 2, where Bruce Campbell is getting sprayed in the face with a geyser of blood. And it's really funny because it's so over the top. Or like a movie like Brain Damage, where he's pulling the shit out of his ear, and then it's his whole ear comes off and blood is just gushing out of his ear and he's screaming. It's fucking hilarious, So yeah, I certainly have a sense of humor and I try to, have fun with what I'm doing. But I don't know if that answers the question or if I understood the question properly.
Incredible answer. Daniel, have you seen those movies?
Sure.
No.
You say you haven't seen Martyrs.
You haven't seen Evil Dead?
No, I've seen Evil Dead. I will tell you this, though. fucking hated Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
I did not like it at all. I like Evil Dead 1, even the remake. I watched both of them, and
well, it was nice knowing you, Daniel.
I tried to watch Martyrs on like a fucking. This is another shocker. I don't even have a Blu-ray player. Like I have an old ass DVD player and a VHS or VCR downstairs.
You watching that shit on beta?
Yeah. But I tried watching Martyrs last year on some like Bush League streaming pirated site, and I couldn't watch it. It was like glitching out, and that was the only attempt. So yeah, I'm a piece of shit when it comes to movies, and there's a lot of movies I just don't. I don't know. I didn't like Evil Dead 2. Sorry. I didn't like Trick or Treat either. I fucking hated it.
Which Trick or Treat? The one from the 80s or the one from the 2000s?
The 2000s with Sam.
Okay.
What did you do with that?
I'll allow you to hate that one.
Oh, thank you.
No, I like that one, but it's like that's fine. But if you're saying you hated the one from '86 with fucking Ozzy and Gene Simmons in it, then we're gonna have a fight, you and me.
Fisticuffs.
We're gonna be out in the street.
Evil Dead, Chris?
I'm sorry?
Did you like the remake of Evil Dead?
I did. Yeah, actually, Aaron and I were just talking about that yesterday. No, I did like that. I thought they went. I thought they did it wisely in that they didn't try to create a new Ash and replace Ash. They just kind of set it in the same universe as Evil Dead, so it doesn't even really feel like a remake.
Yeah.
But no, it's very well done. It's super carnage and gore. It's off the charts. So yeah, I definitely like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, when I went to the theater to see it, I was telling him the other day, I went to the theater to see it, obviously, because I was a big Evil Dead fan. I was going to be disappointed no matter what. It was just one of those things, just because I like Bruce Campbell so much.
Yeah.
So I was incredibly disappointed. But then I was saying, I just recently rewatched it maybe a year or two ago, and I fucking loved it. And it was I loved it. And it was just like those expectations of, that we're going to be let down no matter what, because, Bruce Campbell wasn't going to be in it. Like, that shit was gone by that point, so, it's
what's fun with
things. I get myself wound up.
You know what I love about that movie, too, is I love the trailer for it. I always avoid trailers before I see a movie because they spoil way too much. Yeah. But if I end up liking the movie, I go back and watch the trailer retroactively. And that trailer is bananas. It's really, really well done. I think movie trailers are kind of like an art. They're almost like a very short music video in the way that they're done. So like that trailer and the trailer for Mandy, like those two trailers I've watched many times. Just hop on YouTube and just watch it because I'm just like, this is fantastic. Like it's almost like short versions of the films, I guess.
Hey, I just want to let you guys know real quick that 7 minutes ago Matt Shaw did drop a question in, and it's a good one.
Uh-oh.
So.
Boy. All right, let's work our way down to it.
Yeah, they're getting there.
Does anyone else want to read? I don't want to hog all the questions. Does anyone else want to read?
Question hog. I'll read the next one. Who do we just leave off?
That's my point.
I do what I can. I don't watch movies.
You know what?
Piece of shit.
But go fuck yourself, Dan. Go ahead.
You're not a piece of shit. You like what you like. It's fine.
We'll have a pajama party and we'll watch movies.
Chris, don't come on this fucking show telling him he's not a piece of shit. You're gonna give him an ego.
Yeah, I gotta be constantly put down. All right, Renee Neuenweiss, which book are you most proud of?
Yeah, we went over this already. Yeah. A lot of people have asked the same question. It's hard to choose. I'm very proud that Riverman has done as well as it's done. So I'm very proud of that book because it's been such a success.
All right, we'll move on to Dawn Key. Dawn Key is an amazing supporter of everything horror, especially this show, and she always puts great questions. She wants to know, is there one piece of wisdom about your writing you wished you'd known earlier in the writing process of your books? And she has another part, but I'll let you answer that one first.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things I wish I had known. It's like that thing that everybody wishes they could go back in time knowing what they know now. One thing in particular, I don't know, I'd probably have to think about it, but yeah, I guess just, really just like the craft itself and, making it as good as possible, because I didn't have the best education growing up. I had a rough childhood and everything, so I really kind of had to be an autodidact with it and just kind of teach myself the craft and learn over the years. So it's kind of a, I don't know if that really answers the question, but
Yeah.
try to. But I appreciate everybody's questions, by the way. Thank you all very much.
She wants to also know, what do you like doing to chill out when you're not writing?
Watch Cobra. Yeah.
Just over and over on repeat.
I'm very big into hiking. I'm a big hiker, and I love my dog. She's with me at all times, and so we do a lot of hiking together. It's one of my favorite activities. And yeah, I really do love movies. That's what I do in the evening. When I'll make some dinner and I'll watch in front of the TV. And I'll put a movie on. I love a lot of ridiculous cult films, just like old weird movies. That are just like, the more bonkers and poorly made it is, the more I enjoy it. Shot on video, trashy garbage, sexploitation films from the 60s and 70s, and horror movies that were basically shot in someone's backyard with a like shot on video. So that's kind of how I unwind.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you have an awesome collection, and like, I consider myself pretty well versed even in like bizarre movies, and you had some like fucking weird shit that like I never. The old gore horror, people got to check her out.
Gore horror, it's a timeless classic, man. No, I've amassed a crazy collection of cult films over the years. I'm very much obsessed with it. So,
did you see Eraserhead?
Of course, yeah. I saw it like, I don't know, 30 years ago. Yeah, I love that movie. What's that?
I say it's disturbing.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah, it's just freaky.
I love it. I love it. It's great. Yeah, no, it's very disturbing. Yeah. Some of Lynch's stuff I'm not crazy about, but there's a lot of it that I really love. And I went through a very big Lynch fascination in my 20s. Like Lost Highway is my favorite of his movies. I absolutely love that one. And Eraserhead is great. I loved the original Twin Peaks series. And but yeah, then he's had some other ones like Inland Empire, where I was just like, what the fuck is this? This is just weird for the sake of weird. Doesn't even have a story to it.
Yeah.
So Steph Nealon, shout out to Steph. Thanks for your support. She came out to Scares to see us, I believe, right?
Her and Spike.
Her and Spike. Thanks to Spike. We couldn't ask Spike's question on the Ronald Kelly episode.
Because it was a human centipede.
We can ask it now.
Oh yeah. What was so? It was the human centipede order. Like if you had to order us, like, where would you put yourself within that human centipede?
At the front. You think who wouldn't? If you had a choice, who wouldn't choose to be at the front?
Roland.
No.
Roland's a caboose.
And who would be next? Who would be second?
Yeah, you got to do the whole order, man. This is,
I don't know. We'll just draw straws. Let it be a lottery, Okay. Or actually, no, wait, Daniel, you go at the end because you haven't bothered to watch Cobra, so you go at the very end.
I am a shit eater, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I don't know. That's a ridiculous question. So.
It's going to get worse when they get the match off.
I love it. But Steph asks if you went. It's funny. No wonder they're a couple. These are similar questions, kind of. Yeah. If you went to an amusement park with the Written in Red guys, who would you want to sit next to on the roller coaster and why?
Who would you not want to?
Not want to.
Oh, not want. I'm sorry, not want to. Excuse me.
I'm not sure. I mean, I've gotten to know Aaron pretty well recently. I'm still getting to know you guys, but I don't know.
Maybe Carter.
Like, Calvin. Yeah. I mean, do any of you get motion sickness? I would want to try to avoid sitting next to someone who's going to puke all over me. But you guys probably wouldn't want to sit next to me on a roller coaster either, because I don't enjoy them at all. I just feel sick, So, yeah, I'm not the best person to go to the theme park with. I don't like. I hate Disney, and I don't like any of that shit. So, I'm not a fun person. I like to stay home and stay in the woods.
An excellent response. I'd much rather be in the woods than in Disney anyway.
I just don't like crowds at all. You know, it could be theme parks, concerts, anything where there's a lot of people. I won't be there.
All right, Roland, do you want to ask the next one because that was the one you responded to from Ben?
Oh, yes. So Ben Chadwick wants to know, for all of us actually. Okay then, have your parents read any of your work, and what did they think?
Are you asking me or?
Let's start with you. Yes.
Okay. Well, my parents died before I really started to get books published and everything. So no, not really. I mean, my mom never really read my stuff that I wrote when I was young. I mean, maybe some of my stories when I was a little kid. But you know, I started writing. She hated horror. Everything was too scary for her. She couldn't watch any scary movies. Even like regular movies, if there was blood in it, she would get uncomfortable. And my dad thought horror was stupid and childish. But he read some of my early stuff, like not stuff that was published, just stuff that I was writing. But that's pretty much all I got. Yeah, everybody was dead. By the time I started getting stuff out there. So.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, my parents have been reading my stuff since I was younger. My mother doesn't really read much of my the more extreme stuff, so she read like Left to You. But my dad is he's the one who really started me on horror by reading Stephen King his night shifts, and I'd see it sitting on the kitchen table and whatnot. So he there really wasn't much that was going to disturb him. So yeah, he reads it all, and I haven't really heard anything too negative from him. So, Aaron.
My mom, while she's not a fan of horror, she's a fan of me. So she'll read my stuff, and but she'll just be like, sometimes I can't read it if I'm too depressed. If I get too depressed, I have to be in a certain mood because. Or Aaron, when are you gonna write that nice story? You gonna write a nice one at some? Of course not. But so she actually does enjoy it though, and she'll listen to it despite the unsavory elements of the stories, and she'll take the actual storyline out of it and be like, you are a pretty good writer, So, and my father, I'm not in contact with my father, so.
How you rolling?
My dad and my sister both they say they read my stuff, and like you, they're a fan of me, so I know my sister's listened to a lot of it, so she likes my audiobooks. I don't think they think it's weird. I don't know, I never really asked them. I don't really care.
All right, Roll, why don't you take the next one too, by the way, after Aaron's done.
Oh, I'm done. It's all right, it's fine.
All right, go ahead, Roland.
All right, Miss Donna Latham, who we love to death. Oh, God. How many pikes could Carver Pike pike if Carver Pike could pike pikes?
2.
Just 2?
2.
I'm going to say, yeah.
That's 2. Okay, that's your answer, Donna, 2. And then she also wants to know, how come you don't do any stunt jumps in your videos with Aaron? And when will you and Aaron do an axe video?
How come I don't do any stunt jumps?
Yes.
Because Aaron's a better jumper than me. No, actually, it's funny. Like I think we mentioned that yesterday. I was like, yeah, I can't jump.
I was like, yeah, you can. Come on.
And I'm like, no, I can't. And it's not just because I'm white. It's because I fractured my foot in 3 places a few months ago. So I can't jump or run very well. Dude, I've messed it up really bad back in December. I fractured it in 3 places, and it's a foot that I had previously broken and had surgery on. So yeah, it's still recovering. Yeah, I can't run very fast and I can't jump very well.
Do you know why I jump so well?
Because you're amazing.
Just because I practice a lot, for the day that I get my fucking stones up to finally go out to the bridge,
Yeah.
I don't think you really have to jump. I think you just have to fall.
Yeah, maybe I'm overthinking it. I'll be back, guys.
Yeah, I don't think you have to jump very much. You just kind of we can literally just roll over it.
But I want it to look cool. How's it else am I going to get it on TikTok,
Yeah, do a backflip.
There you go, backflip. Yeah, I'll just get a trampoline and make it easy. Yeah, I'll end up hurting myself again though. I'll break my fucking back.
How did you hurt your foot this time, if you want to say?
What's that?
How did you hurt your foot this time, if you want to say?
Oh, it wasn't cool at all. It wasn't like, oh, I was in a kickboxing match. It was really stupid. I was visiting a friend and I was playing with his 10-year-old son, and I was just like spinning him around in the air, and then I hit like an exposed tree root in the ground, and I started to fall, and I wanted to do it in a way where I wasn't going to fall on him, so I kind of like spun, and it just snapped my foot, but he was fine. But yeah, I got fucked up. I mean, it was like the size of a friggin' watermelon. It was all purple and shit. It was horrifying.
Next time you can spin Aaron around like that.
I will.
Next time I'll do a video.
You gotta do a dirty dancing.
Yeah, that's what.
Aaron,
That's
jump
what
into your arms.
People were asking us to fucking kiss, dude. Like I was seeing a lot of comments about it. Like they were very excited about it. But I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry I mentioned that.
Maybe a cheeker, but don't get too far, ladies.
Well, no, I mean, you're married,
Yeah, it's inappropriate.
I mean, if you weren't married, we would have been fucking hardcore, Actually, I would have been. I would have been up your ass like a fucking Viking.
I knew we would get to this point on the show. It's always just a fucking. It's always a matter of time, Like it's like.
So only took us an hour and 40 minutes to get here, but we're here, everybody.
We got there.
Oh, actually, it's funny. So Donna's second part of the question was about will we do a fucking axe video, which is funny because we actually did one. I just haven't put it up yet. So
yeah. And for reference, I actually have throwing hatchets and a target in my backyard, so we actually have a reason we can actually do hatchet videos.
Yeah, because actually mention that too, because you also write for some nature magazines as well, right?
Yeah, I do articles for Backwoods Survival Guide magazine, which you can get everywhere. You can get it at CVS, you can get it in grocery stores, drugstores, around the country. I do articles about dog training, and I do articles about do-it-yourself. Like I did one about how to build your own axe throwing target. And the recent issue I did how to make your own cutting board. So I give instructions on how to make one and design it, and sand it, polish it up, and all that good stuff.
That's a cool thing.
For axes at Daniel.
Try. I'm like a dwarf from Lord of the Rings. I'll just catch them, throw them back at you. I'm like a bald Gimli.
He's a wrangler. And she also asked, are you excited for the Merrimack Valley Halloween Book Festival?
Very much so. No, I love it. I love that. I did it in 2019, and it was called off the last 2 times because of COVID. So it's finally back. I love that Kristopher Golden, puts together this great event. I will be there this October. I'll be back.
Okay, now we're getting into the depravity. I didn't realize Spike Creamer did ask a question, and it's great. His last name is Creamer.
That's his real name, Spike Creamer. That's pretty cool.
But I think Creamer's
That's pretty
real.
cool.
It's pretty cool, right?
Well, I mean, the artist I mentioned earlier, my buddy Nick Justice. That's his real name, Nick Justice,
yeah,
and he's a comic book artist. It's like you write about. I mean, you not write, but you draw superheroes, and your name is a superhero name.
That's awesome.
Or the stuntman that did a bunch of stuff with John Carpenter. His name's Dick Warlock. What a cool fucking name that is.
That's the best.
He was, he was Michael Myers in Part 2, and he was he was a stuntman. But that's his real fucking name, is Dick Warlock, and his wife's name is Cat Warlock. And I know because I did an event that I was inviting them to, and he, he's old now, and he just wasn't feeling up to it, and he couldn't make it. But I was mostly talking with Cat, and I was like, you guys have the best names, Dick Warlock and Cat Warlock.
Dude, those are badass. It reminds me of the SVU guy, that Dick Wolf. And then I used to, but then I would be like, oh, it'd be so much better to reverse. I call him Wolf Dick.
I always thought about
better.
He's filling out forms, and he has to write your last name first, and this says Wolf Dick on all his
Wolf Dick.
Yes. We're there. We made it.
Like there's that news guy too, Wolf Blitzer. I'm like, that's not your real name. Like no one names their kid Wolf Blitzer, unless your parents were super fucking awesome, which I just don't believe.
Maybe he was just raised by wolves and they were nameless wolves. So
yeah.
You see if they did that.
Yeah.
All right, back to Creamer now. Would you possibly consider using Carver's fresh batch of bull semen on your luscious beard or on other areas?
No.
Okay.
No, thank you, though. Appreciate the offer.
Guys, you want to read some of these?
Yeah. I'll read the next one. Jason Nicky, shouts out Jason. He's another huge supporter. He's got a really cool TikTok channel, and he came out to see us also at AuthorCon. I'm sure he'll be there next year as well. He wants to know, while the horror splatter stuff is great, the Ruin season is one of my favorites. Have you ever considered writing another story like that?
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the shout out for the Ruin season. Yeah, I do have other books like that. You could pick up Shepherd of the Black Sheep or Fine Evening in Hell, and those are more along the lines of the Ruin season. The Ruin season also is my most personal book. There's a lot of me in that book. And I won't go into a whole lot of detail, but that's one of the reasons that is more of a heartfelt book. But it still has brutality in it. It's still dark. And it's going to be re-released soon with Perpetual Motion. We're working on doing like a cleaned up, revised edition of it to kind of put it back out again, because it's been about 5 years since it came out originally. So, but thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So yeah, check out some of my other crime stuff, if that's what you dig.
Awesome. Yeah, he's awesome guy. And you may have met him at AuthorCon. He was probably about my height with a sweet, majestic, long beard. Really good dude though.
Awesome. Yeah, I met a lot of great people at AuthorCon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So if I don't remember your name, don't take it personally. I'm not good with names, but I almost always remember a face. So.
Manda Feathers wants to know, what was the inspiration for Gone to See the Riverman?
Oh yeah, wow. It's a lot of things, I guess, but I think one of the big components of it is I really love Mississippi Delta blues music, and the kind of dark origins of that musical genre. We have a lot of bands now that'll be like death and metal, and like they'll sing about like these horrific things, but I mean these are people that went through real horrors. The black community in Mississippi, in the 1900s, dealt with some real horrors of, and I'm not just talking about the prejudice and the KKK, which were so prominent there. I'm talking about just poverty and a lack of options in life, and as unfortunate as it is that they had these problems, they created some of the greatest music ever made, and rock music owes so much to Delta blues music, and so you have these groundbreaking musicians like Robert Johnson, Junior Kimbrough, R.L. Burnside, and like just a lot of these guys. Some of them are from the old days, and some are more modern, who just have this incredible hypnotic, dark music. And so a lot of it stems from that. Even if you read about the legend of Robert Johnson, how he got so good as he sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads. So there's this kind of horror element to these legends that are made around these people, like Leadbelly. People saying that he was called Leadbelly because he managed to survive getting stabbed in the stomach repeatedly in prison, and that he murdered several people. He actually did. Like, it's not just part of a legend. He murdered people. So you're hearing songs from guys who actually killed people. I forget the artist's name, but there's a song called "I'm Gonna Murder My Baby." It's an old blues song, and the guy actually did. He murdered his woman. Like, he actually did. He wrote a song about it, and then he fucking did it. So I think Riverman, a lot of it comes from my fascination and love for that music. That was kind of the impetus for the Riverman character. But then the story itself, I wanted to create a story that was just a constant set of dread, and also a protagonist that you slowly start to see is not someone that the person that you think she was at the beginning. I've always appreciated like those Breaking Bad type of stories where the person you're rooting for when it starts, you're not so much rooting for them by the end.
Yeah, that's a great, like we said, that's a great book, and it's definitely true with the protagonist as you go down the river there, it definitely changes, and by the end you're like, yeah, you're not what I thought.
Yeah. And I would do just one add to the music aspect is like I was saying, some of these rock bands and everything that everyone gives more credit than they're due, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but Led Zeppelin and the Doors, I mean, there's some of the biggest thieves of American black music that ever walked the fucking earth, particularly Jimmy Page. Like they're just absolute thieves, not just copying the style, but literally stealing the songs and not giving the credit to the blues musicians who created them. Like listen to Howlin' Wolf, and you'll be like, oh, Backdoor Man and Squeeze My Lemon and all that. That was Slim. Who wrote that? Skip James, I think it was. But yeah, like all of this stuff that we give credit, to these limey pricks, it's just like, no, this is American black music, and it's like they just fucking stole it, So, so if you like Led Zeppelin and the Doors and stuff, you should go back and you should listen to the stuff that actually created it. Is my point.
All right, our next question comes from the Stephen Kazanowski. Mm-hmm. And he says that in episode BF12 of Vital Social Issues and Stuff, you were battling barbarians while riding a winged Appaloosa. Yet in the very next scene, you were clearly atop a winged Arabian. Please explain it.
Well, I'm going to fill this one and say, why would a man whose T-shirt says genius at work spend all of his time listening to my stupid podcast? This is all insider Simpsons nerd shit. You guys, I can see the blank stares I'm getting, but Steven asked me a Simpsons question, and I gave him a Simpsons answer.
Yes,
excellent.
You guys have an incredible telepathic sort of Simpson. It's all Simpsons trivia. I hooked you up with one the other day, though. One of my classics,
Yeah, I think you said "Don't have a cow, man" or something like that.
No, dude, get the fuck out of here, man.
That's Aaron's catchphrase, isn't it? I have seen The Simpsons. I can tell you that. I used to watch the hell out of that. So.
Oh, I've heard of that show.
Yeah, I've done it once or twice.
That's the one with Hank Hill, right?
You know who doesn't like that show though? Wes Southard. Southard.
Wes Southard doesn't like anything.
No, he doesn't like fun either.
Love you, Wes, but you don't love anything.
Oh, actually, I think you'll like this next question from Ray Howe, big supporter and reader of ours, because I think it's around a book that you're hoping to get more attention on. And he said he recently listened to "And the Devil Cried" and loved the grim confusion of the genres and despicable characters you created throughout the story. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But as an author, do you see any pitfalls in doing such a story? Does it divide your readership, or does it bring you more readers to the table? Thank you.
That's a very good question. Sometimes people who are really into my horror stuff will shy away from something that looks like it might be crime because they're just not into crime. But I guarantee you, And the Devil Cried, although it does have, although it is about a guy who is a hitman for the mob, it's not like a Sopranos style story. It's about a guy who's a completely sociopathic, horrible person who is hired to take out a hit on a child. So it's fucking horror, So I appreciate the comments on that because I really did try to create, a absolutely loathsome human being out of the character of Jackie in that story. But I think with that one, it was kind of the fear was like, oh shit, am I going to get canceled for writing this? Because I just wrote every horrible thing I could think of a person doing in the situations that the guy's in, and I don't fucking care if it upsets people because it's my job. I'm trying to freak people out and scare you and upset you. But no, that is a good question. And I hopefully it does get people that may that read horror, maybe it gets them a little bit more interested in crime fiction. And that would be great, because there's a lot of great crime fiction out there, like Jim Thompson and George V. Higgins, where the stuff can kind of cross the threshold of horror. Like you read The Getaway by Jim Thompson, and there's a movie that they made with Steve McQueen. It's an excellent movie, but the ending is completely different. There's scenes in the book where where the two main characters are like hiding out in a little hut that's made of fucking manure, and it's like a hot day, and they're like have to hide in there from the cops, and the fucking horse feces is just like raining down on them, and just because it's like sweating. It's fucking gnarly. And this is a fucking crime novel from like the 50s or the 60s. It's incredible, I think a lot of people need to realize that you can find some great horror in crime fiction.
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about Jim Thompson the other day, and like just how it's like kind of sad that it's like a sin that he's not in most major bookstores, like his work, and it's like he's done so much awesome stuff.
Oh yeah, excellent books, and some stuff that like The Killer Inside Me is definitely horror. That's a book that he wrote, and it is a crime story. It's about a corrupt small town sheriff, but he's also a vicious homicidal maniac. So yeah, definitely I would recommend Jim Thompson to horror fans that may be interested in some crime.
Anybody else want to read a question?
Go ahead, Roland. You want to read Travis's question?
Yeah, so Travis Davis, please tell us if there are any updates for your continuation on body art. I'm so excited for more insanity from this incredible world. Any hope for an audio version as well?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Roland. I had a little trouble hearing you.
I'm sorry. Speaker. So he says, please tell us if there are any updates for your continuation on body art. I'm so excited for more insanity from this incredible world. Any hope for an audio version as well?
Yeah, I think in time, I would love to have all of my books be audiobooks. It's just, you gotta find someone to do it, and you have to get it done, and take some time. So it's definitely one that I'd like to get around to. So it'll happen eventually with the other book. As for a continuation of the story, I've toyed around with the ideas. I have a couple of ideas for a potential sequel, but nothing concrete enough that I've started writing anything yet. The new edition of the book does have a kind of a teaser epilogue that wasn't in the original release of the book. So the new version, the director's cut, as we call it, does have an extended epilogue. So yeah, I mean, it's possible that I could go back to that world. It certainly lends itself easily to an extended universe. So could happen. We'll see.
And shout out Travis. He pretty much lives horror. He is really a huge fan of a lot of us, and he's also a writer himself. So good luck on your writing journey, Travis. Thanks for all your support.
Yeah, definitely very, very, very supportive, and I do wish you the best of luck, Travis.
All right. So Megan, this is another. We've had this question a few times already. It's about your favorite. Which one of your works is your personal favorite, and what is your favorite subgenre of horror to write?
And that's Megan.
I'm sorry, Megan Stockton.
And thanks, Megan, because she's a great supporter too.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for your question, Megan. Yeah, so we already covered the book thing. My favorite subgenre of horror. I really like. It comes down to definition. Like some people will say extreme horror, and what they really mean is splatterpunk. They mean like blood and guts and carnage and grossness and depraved, aberrant sexuality. And I love that stuff. I mean, I wrote body art, So, but to me, that's splatterpunk. And to me, splatterpunk and extreme horror are two different things. They can be the same thing. They can come together in the same book. They often do. But to me, extreme is horror that is very transgressive and gets under your skin. Like I think Gone to See the Riverman is an extreme horror story, even though it's not excessively gory and it's not a splatterpunk story. It's just the content. It's the evil things that happen in it. Like you take here's a good example. You take a book like Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door. That's an extreme novel, but it's not a splatterpunk novel. It's not excessively gory. It's just this horrific story of this child being abused by a woman, and also the other kids in the neighborhood who don't know any better. And it's extremely dark. And that's the kind of stuff that I try to lean towards with my own writing, is that kind of, and particularly more recently, like I do have fun writing stuff like Toxic Love or Night Stalkers, where I just get all gross and splatter eats, but that becomes kind of funny as I'm writing it. But stuff that's more extreme and just dealing with dark transgressive subject matter, that's the kind of horror that I really enjoy.
And Killer Bunny Charlie, another great supporter for all of us. Always sharing our stuff, buying our shirts, everything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
She asked, any snuff-related story coming? I know you kind of touched on it for a second when you were talking about body art, that like you didn't want to do anything that was like a traditional snuff trope, right? But
yeah. There was a story that I wrote a while back called The Devouring, and you can get it in the Bloodbound Books DOA 2, and you can also get it in the new version of Body Art, the director's cut. It comes with that short story in it, and that is about, it is kind of a snuff story because it is people filming death, but it's consensual. It's a man and a woman who want to make art, out of their depraved sex that they have, and it does lead to fatal conclusions. But I mean, if a story calls for it, I'll put it in. But I don't have any particular plans to write about like a snuff film or anything. Mainly because I just feel like it's been done. If I was going to do a snuff film related story, I would have to come up with something new and different, rather than just be like, hey, they made a movie where they killed a guy. Because I just feel like that's too basic at this point. It would have to be a new twist on it.
Last question. Anybody want to take it?
God, you could do it. It's from Matt.
Well, I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
Go ahead, Roland. You could do it.
So Matt wants to know, if you could have chosen the first word which came out of your mouth as a baby, what would it be?
Penis!
That's the word of the day.
It's like the word of the day. No. I don't know. Just one word. It would have to be something good, like what if I just said Satan, just to like terrify everyone in the room, like the doctor, my mother. Imagine a baby coming out and just going Satan.
That's a good answer.
Like,
if I could have more than one word, I'd be like, put me back in, just like screaming it repeatedly.
You know what was when you're in school and you're a young kid, I don't know if this happened to you guys, but like they'll do an exercise in the class where they tell you to take your pants off. No, I'm just kidding. Where they say, "Oh,
you went to Catholic school."
I was raised Catholic, but I was molested Baptist. But they would be like, everybody write down what your first word was, and I used to think that was cool, like hearing everybody's first words, and most of them are mom or dad or stop, but somebody had the word juice, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know. I was like, that's a different one. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
That's a great.
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about either. Yeah.
Riveting.
No idea. Yeah.
I wish you just screamed penis again. That would have been much better.
No. All right. Well, that kind of wraps us up. I mean, we're going to go into our just final closeout stuff here. And Chris, we just want to ask you if you could pick a reader or readers, depending on what you want. We usually just ask for one, but if you have more, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like just say one because there's so many wonderful readers out there. So like some of the people that wrote in, like I was going to mention Travis, Travis Davis, is very supportive. Tara, I hope I'm saying your last name right, Lasciano. She's a big fan. She's always very supportive. Nikki Fontana, Matthew Drinkwine has been a fan of mine since way back. So there's a lot of wonderful fans. I appreciate every single one of you From those of you who've read everything of mine, for those who are just a fan who've just begun, I appreciate all of you. I love you all. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for recognizing them. And there's some crossover. We definitely know Nikki and.
Oh yeah, Nikki was at AuthorCon too. She hung out with us for a while. Travis,
awesome.
Travis, and Tara. Tara, I know is one of your like mega fans.
Yeah,
like she's always posting things, and she's such a sweetheart, and she is another big supporter of pretty much all of us.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Great.
Hell yeah. All right. And so then lastly, we just want to, when we started this show, we would spotlight an author when it was just the four of us. But now that we are pretty much spotlighting an author on the show with the interview, we'd like to ask you, is there anyone that you think that maybe people should be reading more of that's under the radar? And I know you said you might have a couple of other suggestions just in general too, right?
Yeah. Well, first I would say that people should read all of you guys' stuff. I think you should check out these guys,
Thanks,
I have a couple of absolutely, and I mean that. They should check you out. A couple of other authors I wanted to mention is I have a few people that I think are on the rise or should get more attention. One is Jonathan Butcher. He wrote a book called What Good Girls Do, which is a super disturbing, awesome fucking book. He also wrote The Chocolate Man, and he's been in a couple of different anthologies with some of us. So he's awesome. He's a British writer, and he's an awesome dude. Check out his stuff. I think more people need to read C.V. Hunt, who's the head of Grindhouse Press, but she's also an author, and she's written some incredible stuff. This is one of her older books, but it's one of my favorite titles for a book ever. It's called Misery and Death and Everything Depressing. And I think that's one of my favorite fucking titles of all time. This also contains the short story Baby Hater, which is fucking hilarious. Anytime like that there's like some extreme hilarious shit involving just punching a baby in the face, I'm there. And that's what she delivers on. One more modern guy is a Scottish author, awesome, good dude, buddy of mine, John McNee, Prince of Nightmares. And I'm not just saying it because he's a friend, I'm saying it because it's a fucking fantastic book and not enough people have read it. Prince of Nightmares by John McNee. Check it out.
John McNee wrote an excellent intro to body art and the director's cut as well.
He did.
So,
yeah.
Check that out too.
Yeah, and he's got other books out there. He's got his Doom Cabaret is his most recent one. But Prince of Nightmares was my introduction to him, and I was like, holy shit, this fucking book rules.
Didn't he have a show? Did he have a cooking show?
Yeah, he does videos, cooking, and he does videos. He was, for a while, he was doing the Vincent Price cookbook, and he was doing because Vincent Price had a cookbook, and he was doing all the recipes. Yeah, no, he does a lot of fun, amusing stuff that he does. He's an awesome dude. I did also want to throw in here real fast 3 books by authors that are no longer with us, because as I was saying earlier, I think a lot of people, whether they're writers or readers, they would really benefit from going back to some of the older banned books and books that really broke the mold of what extreme fiction is. I'm going to first show this is from author Charlie Jacob, and she was briefly kind of a big deal in the early 2000s when it comes to extreme horror. And her book right here, Dread and the Beast, was the winner of the Bram Stoker Award for Best Horror Novel of 2005. This was released through Necro, so it's quality stuff. This is an extremely dark, disturbing book, and I think a lot of the old timers remember Charlie Jacob, but I think a lot of the younger, newer readers, you would benefit from checking out her stuff. She and Monica O'Rourke were two of the original female extreme horror authors. I also want to recommend one of my favorites, a Florida boy like me. He had written several books, and this guy wrote from the heart. I mean, he had a truly hard life. And this is A Feast of Snakes by Harry Crews. Not technically a horror novel, but one of the most horrifying things I have ever read. I really would classify it as horror, but he's not really known as a horror author. He's mostly known as Southern grit fiction. But this book is fucking disturbing as hell, and there were moments where I thought I couldn't even finish it, and that's coming from me. So that really says something. And
I'm getting hyped up, dude. This is sick.
All right. I'm gotta remember it all.
Yeah, A Feast of Snakes by Harry Crews. He's written other books too, Celebration is another one that I love, but A Feast of Snakes is his most brutal. And then last but certainly not least, this is one of my favorite authors of all time, Hubert Selby Jr. and his book Last Exit to Brooklyn.
He's awesome.
He's fucking amazing. For those who may not be familiar, you may know him from Requiem for a Dream, which is an awesome, intense movie that was made out of based on one of his novels. But Last Exit to Brooklyn was really a groundbreaking book. That originally came out in the late 50s, early 60s. And he actually was brought to trial for obscenity, for writing the book. And it's not a horror novel, but it's fucking horrific. It just shows the dregs of society and what it's like to live in the shitty fucking projects in New York City at the time in the 1950s, and the kind of violence and brutality that went on there. And he also, one of the reasons he got called out on it is one of his main characters in the story is a trans woman. And this is he wrote about this shit in the fucking 50s and 60s. And it's not like he's making fun of the character or, making drag queen jokes. He had a serious, relatable character that has a, very tragic life because of, the times that she lived in. So yeah, those three books, Last Exit to Brooklyn, Feast of Snakes, and Dread and the Beast. That's your homework, gentlemen.
On Selby, he also had another really good book called Waiting Period. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good one. That was his final novel. Yeah.
I mean, the concept of that was very disturbing too. And
yeah, it is.
I'm always fascinated with that kind of snapped sort of shit. Yeah. That.
Well, did you ever read The Demon, which is by him?
Because I used to work at a bookstore, and they got a flood of all his books, so I looked at The Demon quite a few times, but I never got to read it.
The Demon was my first book by him that I ever read, and it absolutely just blew me away. I thought it was fucking amazing, and it's really dark and disturbing. But I bring up Last Exit to Brooklyn because, to me, that book is the most upsetting and transgressive, and it's so tragic and so violent and dark. But such a groundbreaking book. So yeah, I think authors like that who really got crucified for the stuff that they wrote at the time, they were the pioneers for what we do, and I just want to remind, people of that, younger generations and stuff. It's good to go back. And this isn't just me being an old man. This stuff is, well, not all of it, but Selby, I mean, that shit's long before I was born, You got to go back. You got to, it's not always about the new book that just came out. It's also about the forgotten classics.
Yeah, sure.
Hell yeah, dude. No, so it's been a great episode. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris.
Oh, I had a blast. No, it's been great, man. No, I love you guys. You have a great show. You're all talented writers, and I'm always really happy to hang out with people of the same mind,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and as we usually play ourselves out, just kind of spieling our shit. So if you want to remind people of your website and then any other things that maybe upcoming projects that you'd like to plug.
Yeah, sure. A Ballad of the Werevixens is the new novel coming out. That's the sequel. But I also have a special release through Thunderstorm Books that's coming out. It's called Slasher versus the Remake. It's part of their Versus series. The book is also titled Ex Boogeyman. It's going to have a later release under that title. But we're calling it Slasher versus the Remake to kind of fit it in with the Versus series. So that'll be out later this year. And the website is Triana Horror, Triana horror.com, and you can get books directly from me. I'll sign them, I'll bite them, because that's a good autograph, to bite the book. That's what I was doing with Full Brutal before COVID, because that's a fucking signature, because no one can forge your dental bite. That is authentic. And because the book has to do with cannibalism, I would bite the cover, and that would be the autograph. But I stopped when COVID started.
Yo, that's showmanship right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but yeah, you can get on the TrianaHorror.com, and you can get books from me, and you can also, there's going to be all sorts of stuff with shirts and pillows and bags and all sorts of nonsense with my crap all over it. So,
Roland.
Oh, hey, Roland Bursey Jr. I actually just updated my website today, so rolandburseyjr.com. I put some alternative cover art for that I was going to use for like Unbortion and Payback as a Witch and Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder. So go check that out. You can find all of my stuff on Amazon, and yeah.
I love that title, Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
great.
PTSD. Love it.
That's a great title.
Thank you. Daniel?
Daniel J. Volpe, you can find me on my website also, danieljvolpehorror.com. My newest book, Visceral 2, is out now. That was 8 short stories, 4 from myself and 4 from Patrick C. Harrison III. That's out from Death's Head Press in ebook and paperback. Coming up new, probably in late August, my next novella, Plastic Monsters, will hopefully be out. That one's going to be full of body horror and wretched people. So check me out, social media, all the big ones. Daniel J. Volpe. Find me anywhere, send me a message. Tell me to fuck off if you want to. And or you can send me a message that just says penis. So not pictures of your penis, just yell penis.
Yeah, send those to Roland. Yeah,
Yeah, send the pictures of the penis to Roland.
Everyone, mail him not Blu-ray, mail him DVDs of Cobra.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and Trick or Treat.
I have Trick or Treat already.
But just keep sending them Trick or Treat. Keep sending them Trick or Treat.
Well, Trick or Treat he hates. Cobra he hasn't seen. So
Yeah, I'm sure I'll love Cobra because it's an '80s Stallone movie, so I'm sure I'll be fine.
dude, it's the best.
I'm fucking sorry.
It's the best.
I want to weep. All right, Aaron, come on, let's go.
Aaron
Let's go.
Knock it off.
author of The Slob. So I think by the time this comes out, I believe my book, The Cuck, will be out. Love to say The Cuck. And that's probably one of my creepiest. I'd say like creepy is the best way to describe that book. It's very creepy. So
it was inspired by Will Smith.
I can't. I am not at liberty to divulge my any characters in this book are.
You make that disclaimer big.
But I'm very excited about that book. I still have Nightmare Nirvana and Modern Hysteria are my other releases from this year, and Survivor's Guilt with Matt Shaw. And abhorror.com is my website. You could go there for signed copies, merchandise, all that fun stuff. And also, we can't forget about our good friend Carver Pike. Faces of Beth is his big release this year with the introduction by Brian Keene. So be sure to check that out. Carver Pike's Diablo Snuff series is one of his more revered works. I believe that's a 4-book series, right? With the Maddening capping it off. So definitely check that out too. And you can always reach out to Carver for signed copies and stuff. As we said, he'll be popping in and out of the show sporadically due to like family stuff. So, but he's still our boy, and we still support him, and you should too. So
I have one more thing.
Sure.
That I forgot to mention for my German fans who might be listening. They All Died Screaming is coming out in the German translation this August.
Awesome. Congrats, dude.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's been an excellent show. Hilarious and also informative, I think. But we'll let you be the judge. And until next time, keep it 100% horror!
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah!